The colony of Arendor stretched across a wide, rocky planet, its cities gleaming under the light of two suns. Ships of all sizes moved through the atmosphere, carrying goods, passengers, and messages between the colony and the rest of the galaxy. Humans had built this world from nothing, and it had become a hub of trade and technology. But beneath the surface of its prosperity, shadows were gathering, and not all threats came from outside. Commander Eric Voss stood on the balcony of the IM Central Command Station, watching the sun reflect off the polished towers of the city below. His eyes were sharp, scanning the reports that had been delivered to him that morning. Something was wrong. The flow of minerals and rare resources from Arendor to the Galactic Council had increased sharply, but there were no corresponding returns in technology or protection for the colony. The numbers did not make sense. He turned to his assistant, a young engineer named Lyra, who had been with him for nearly 2 years. "Have you noticed this?" he asked, pointing at the data projected in the air before them. "The Council is taking more than they should, and it isn't just a small amount. This is systematic." Lyra frowned. "I thought these quotas were set to keep trade fair. If they are taking too much, why isn't anyone else noticing?" "Because they don't want anyone to notice," Arik said quietly. "They are greedy, and they think we will obey because we have no choice. But humans do not give up easily. We adapt, we fight, and we survive." The human spirit, Arik thought, was never meant to bow quietly. He had seen the history of humanity. On Earth, the wars, the struggles, the small victories that had built nations. And now, across the stars, humans were being tested again. Arik gathered a small team that afternoon, a mix of scientists, pilots, and engineers. They met in a hidden room deep beneath the city, a place where the Council's influence could not easily reach. "We cannot let them drain our colony and destabilize the systems around us," Arik began. "If we do nothing, the Council will continue to grow stronger while we weaken. But we are human. We think, we plan, and we can act when others do not expect it." The team listened carefully. Each member understood the risks. A strike against the Council would not be easy. Their power was immense, and their fleets were formidable. But humans had one advantage: unpredictability. They could think in ways the Council could not imagine. Over the next few days, Arik and his team studied the Council's supply lines, looking for weaknesses. They discovered a station on a small, uninhabited moon that stored resources destined for the Council. The station was lightly guarded, protected more by bureaucracy than by weapons. A single, well-coordinated strike could send a message without causing permanent harm. Arik smiled grimly. "This is our chance. We will not destroy lives, but we will show them that humanity does not kneel to greed." The night before the operation, the team prepared their ships. Pilots checked engines, engineers examined drones, and scientists ensured that the equipment for non-lethal incapacitation was ready. Arik walked among them, offering words of encouragement. "Remember, this is not just about the station. It is about showing the galaxy what humans can do. Smart, clever, and brave. That is our strength." As their ships launched into the dark expanse of space, the moon loomed ahead. Its gray surface reflected the distant light of Arendor's suns, and the station appeared small and vulnerable. The team moved with precision, each human playing a role honed through planning and practice. Inside the station, alarms sounded too late. Humans were already inside, deploying devices that disrupted communications and temporarily disabled security systems. The Council's guards were confused, seeing humans in places they should not have been. Drones moved silently through the corridors, capturing and securing the station's resources without harming anyone. Arik led the operation from a control ship in orbit, his hands steady on the console. "Focus on efficiency," he instructed. "We take what we need and we leave. Make sure they understand, but do not create lasting damage. Humanity is strong, but we are not reckless." In less than an hour, the operation was complete. Station was intact, the resources secured, and the message delivered. Humans were no longer passive. As the ships returned to Arendor, news of the strike spread quickly. Citizens watched the skies, seeing the small fleet reappear and realizing what had been accomplished. It was a victory of mind over might, a demonstration of cleverness and courage. The council's reaction was immediate. Panic and disbelief spread through their chambers. No one had expected humans to act so boldly, and the simplicity of the strike, using strategy rather than brute force, left them unprepared. Council members argued among themselves, some calling for retaliation, others for diplomacy. But for every plan they considered, Arik had already thought 2 steps ahead. Back on Arendor, Arik addressed his team. "This is only the beginning. The Council will not easily forget what we have done. They will try to intimidate us, to divide us. But humans have a way of turning challenges into opportunity. We must remain united, smart, and courageous." The story of the operation became a spark across the galaxy. Other colonies, long suffering under the Council's demands, began to watch humanity closely. They saw humans who did not rely on vast fleets or ancient influence, but on cleverness, quick thinking, and moral conviction. The legend of Arendor's strike spread, and whispers of rebellion began in distant systems. Arik knew the Council would respond. They always did when power was threatened. But he also knew that humans had something no bureaucracy could predict: the ability to unite, to think creatively, and to act decisively when others hesitated. For the first time, the Council realized that their greed had created a new kind of danger, one they had never imagined. In private, Arik looked at the stars and thought of the colonies that might be liberated, the lives that might be saved, and the future humans could shape. The war had not yet begun, but the first move had been made, and it was humans who had made it. That night, as Arendor's cities glimmered under the twin suns, the people went about their lives unaware of the full scope of what had occurred. But in hidden corners, in the halls of government and among alien councils, the name of Commander Arik Voss and his daring team was on everyone's lips. Humans had taken a stand, and the galaxy had noticed. Arik finally rested in his quarters, tired but satisfied. The message was clear. Humans would not be pawns in the Council's game. They would be players, unpredictable, clever, and unyielding. And when the time came, they would fight not just for Arendor, but for every colony that had suffered under the weight of greed. As he drifted into sleep, he knew one truth above all: the Council's greed had led them to a mistake they would regret, and the humans of Arendor were just beginning to show what they were capable of. The Council had not forgotten what had happened on the moon. Their chambers were filled with tension, voices raised in argument and frustration. They had ruled over the stars for centuries, their power unmatched, their fleets feared. And yet a small human colony had dared to challenge them. The audacity of it unsettled the Council more than any weapon could. Commander Arik Voss, however, did not fear the Council. From the command center on Arendor, he studied their response through intercepted communications. They were organizing a fleet preparing to strike back. Arik knew that the Council expected humans to be reckless, to meet force with force. They would be surprised. Humans had strength, yes, but their greatest power lay in their mind, in their ability to adapt. Arik gathered his team once more. "The Council will come for us," he said. "They will think they can crush our colony quickly. But we are not just defending ourselves. We are sending a message to every system under their control. Humans will not be silent. They will act and they will think." Lyra, the young engineer, nodded. "We have allies, don't we? Other colonies that want change?" "Yes," Arik said, his eyes steady. "And even within the Council, there are factions unhappy with the greed and corruption. They will join us when they see we are serious. But first we must survive the initial attack, and we must do it smartly." For weeks, humans and their allies worked tirelessly. Engineers modified ships to be faster and more agile. Scientists developed systems that could jam communications and disable weapons temporarily. Pilots trained day and night, learning every maneuver possible to outsmart the Council's fleet. When the first ships of the Council approached Arendor, the humans were ready. The Council expected a simple defense, a straightforward fight they could win with superior firepower. Instead, they encountered a strategy they had not imagined. Humans used stealth drones to disable key weapon systems, while small, fast ships attacked supply lines, forcing the Council fleet to split its forces. Auric directed every move from the command center. Focus on their weaknesses, he instructed. Do not waste energy on brute force. We can outsmart them, and that is more effective than any cannon. The battle raged across space, lights flashing and engines roaring as ships dodged and weaved. Council commanders were frustrated by the humans' tactics. Every time they planned a direct assault, humans had already anticipated it, shifting positions and using the terrain of space to their advantage. Meanwhile, Auric sent messages to other colonies that had suffered under the Council's demands. The humans were offering protection, resources, and the knowledge that resistance was possible. One by one, alien systems that had once complied with the Council quietly joined Auric's cause. Soon, the human fleet was no longer alone. They had allies, and together they formed a force that the Council had never expected. Amidst the chaos, Auric noticed something extraordinary. Even when faced with overwhelming odds, humans remained calm and resourceful. Pilots dodged impossible attacks, engineers repaired damaged systems mid-flight, and scientists adapted technology on the fly. The Council had underestimated them, assuming that humans would panic or surrender. But humanity's greatest strength was not in its weapons, it was in its courage and creativity. As the battle reached its peak, the Council's central command station became the focal point. It was heavily defended, but Auric had a plan. Using a combination of stealth drones and precise navigation, he led a small group of ships directly to the station. The humans did not destroy it. Their goal was to disable it and broadcast the truth to the galaxy. Inside the station, alarms blared, but it was too late. Drones had infiltrated the systems, capturing communications and data. Auric's voice echoed through the station's speakers, calm but firm. Council members, your greed has led you to this moment. Humans do not bow to corruption. We fight for justice, for freedom, and for every system you have oppressed. Witness your failures, and know that we will not stop. Images and data flooded across the galaxy, showing the Council's exploitation and the humans' ingenuity. Colonies watched in awe, inspired by what had been accomplished. For the first time, many realized that the Council was not invincible. Humans had done what no one else dared. They had challenged the powerful and won through cleverness, unity, and moral strength. Back on Arendor, the citizens cheered as they watched the broadcasts. Commander Auric Voss stood before them, calm but proud. This is a victory, he said, but it is only the beginning. The Council may try again, but now the galaxy knows that humanity will not be ruled by greed. We will fight not just for ourselves, but for every colony that has been silenced. The Council, humiliated and exposed, could no longer act as they had before. Some factions tried to regroup, but they were met with resistance at every turn. The humans had not just defended Arendor, they had sparked a movement, a coalition of systems united against corruption. Auric reflected on the events as he watched the stars from the command center. The war had started not with weapons, but with strategy, courage, and a refusal to accept injustice. Humans had shown that even a single colony, with clever planning and unity, could challenge an empire. And the galaxy would never forget it. As the celebrations continued, Auric and his team prepared for the future. They knew that the Council might try to retaliate again, but humans had learned a lesson. Fear was not a weapon they would use against themselves, and intelligence was more powerful than any fleet. In the quiet of the night, Auric thought of the colonies still under pressure, the systems that had suffered quietly for generations. Humanity's fight had begun with Arendor, but it would not end there. They would continue to protect, to innovate, and to act with courage, showing that humans were more than just a species. They were a force of change, unpredictable and unstoppable. The galaxy, once complacent under the Council's rule, had witnessed something new. Humans, underestimated and overlooked, had turned the tide. Their ingenuity, bravery, and moral conviction had rewritten the rules of power. No empire could assume humans would bend to greed. No council could rely on fear to control them. As dawn broke over Arendor, the twin suns casting long shadows across the city, Commander Auric Voss stood tall. The battle had been won, the council humbled, and a new era was beginning. Humans had shown that even in the face of overwhelming power, courage, strategy, and unity could prevail. They had not just defended their colony, They had inspired a galaxy, and in that inspiration, the humans of Arendor found their true strength, a determination to rise, to protect, and to never allow greed to dominate the innocent again. The Council's war had begun with arrogance, but it ended with a lesson they would never forget. Humanity was clever, resilient, and fearless. The stars were quiet now, but the message had been sent. Humans had shown what they were capable of, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. And as Commander Arik Voss looked out at the vast expanse of space, he knew that this was only the beginning of a future shaped by courage, intelligence, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity.